Hey booktube! So welcome back to my channel, or just welcome if you're new. So this is going to be a little November reading vlog. I've kind of chosen like this time of year mainly because I have a few fun little aesthetic things going on and also the book choices that I want to be reading. Some of which are secret and you won't see until a later video, but there are quite a few other books and other things I need to get to, and it just kind of felt like I needed a vlog to like pull this all together. So while I do have a few fun things planned, like a music gig in a few days time, for the most part I have a couple interesting reads to get through. I want to do some readathon stuff. I know, who am I? Like it's been a hot minute since I've done anything readathon related, and there also is a book in here that I promised you guys that I would read as part of a vlog because it just suddenly became one of my like most hyped books that I had on my TBR. Before I get to that, as for what I'm reading now, I'm actually kind of randomly reading the Loki variations, The Man, the Myth, the Mischief by Carl Johnson, and this is a really tiny little just like info book. It's I think just something I picked up on a whim, as well as like a D&D themed one a while ago, and I'll tell you why I picked this up. So the second season of the Loki TV show is currently airing, and I've said so many times I'm not a Marvel girly, I don't do Marvel, but like I think this is the only Marvel TV show I have ever watched, and I haven't seen so many of like the new movies, but I will watch this one. And it comes out at 2 AM every Friday. Do not judge me, but I was waiting up for it to come on, and so I thought, oh, I've got like an hour and a bit, I'll like start reading this because it's less than like 100 pages, and I'd forgot that the clocks went forward, so now it only comes out at 1 AM in the UK. Do not judge me still. So I only got like 50 pages into this and I barely have any left to go. But yeah, I basically started this while I was just waiting for the TV show to come on. Do not judge me. So this is kind of, it's a look I think mainly through the lens of pop culture, and it's a bit of an exploration of all these sort of different interpretations of this character throughout very many decades. It does focus a lot on Marvel, but I think that's just because Marvel they've got like 60 years of comics, like what, like 10 plus years of films. They've got like book tie-ins and cartoons and everything, so there is like a lot of Marvel content in there, but it does focus on like the myth and other interpretations as well, and it's quite interesting. Again, it was just like a little thing that I picked up in the meantime because I didn't want to start a new book, not like close to 1 in the morning on a Friday anyway. But yeah, I only have like, what, like 20 pages left to go of this, and it's very easily readable. It's really enjoyable, and I think this is one of the first, it's not the only non-fiction I've read this year, because I do read stuff to do with like mushrooms and plants, but I think this is the only non-fiction I've actually like genuinely picked up and read, not just as something to flick through every now and again, if that makes sense. So I'm on like one non-fiction for the whole year, but it will not take me very long to get through this, and so I don't really want to talk about it too much because picking this up was completely random, but I'm not mad that I picked it up. At least I'll have read one non-fiction this whole year. Yeah, I'll probably have this done in like 15 or 20 minutes from when I pick it up later tonight, but once I am done with that, the book that I definitely want to move on to, which is one of my most anticipated books very suddenly, and one that I did promise you guys that I would read in a vlog, and that book is Every Sky a Grave by J. Posey. Now this shot like so high up my like most anticipated in terms of what I had on my physical TBR, and it's because I had completely forgotten what this book was about when I bought it, and thank you so much to Past Me for knowing that I wanted this book. I have never ever heard anybody talk about this. I've never seen this book before ever in my life, so I've taken it upon myself to be the person that reads this book, and I'm gonna let you guys know if it's any good, mainly because look, I'm gonna tell you why I was so captivated by it, okay? On the back it says, "It was the language that united them, it was the language that had lifted the human race from the dust and granted them the stars as inheritance. There was power within its words." And what I think this is it kind of uses it's a sci-fi, but it uses the fantasy trope of like words of power. I love linguistics, I love anything to do with like language and words and etymology and anything like that, and so I'm hoping this does have like more of like a linguistic edge to it. From what I understand the basic plot, I'm gonna refresh myself because yeah, just refreshing myself, but like the basic plot is that mankind has like conquered the stars, and it says that with the right training, the right application of words, the truth itself can be rearranged. Language is literally power, and there is this order that has these people employed, I guess, and they can literally use language and words as I want to say magic, but it's a sci-fi, so like I'm not 100% sure. It says that if a planet deviates too far from what the authorities have planned, an agent is sent out to correct that, and they will basically using the power of language and words, they will destroy that world. And it looks like this follows one of those agents who has that power as they sort of, I guess, start to realise that not everything is the way that it's been made to seem by the people in power. And then right at the end, it kind of mentions that while on a mission, there's a dark and unknown presence at the edge of the galaxy, and it cannot be controlled, for nobody knows its name. And that made me think that this is also maybe going to dive into the, again, fantasy trope of, like when you have fae and names are power. If you know someone's name, their true name, you will have power over them. So I just got the vibe that this is a sci-fi that was playing on some very classic like fantasy, folklore, mythology type tropes, and specifically with a linguistic aspect to it. So this honestly could be 5 stars for me. It might also be really disappointing because, again, I've never heard anybody else talk about this, and I think it does have a sequel as well. Part of what I want to do in this vlog is this is one of the main books that I'm going to be reading in this, but I've somehow ended up with like 9 books on my November TBR, and considering I've been reading like a maximum of 3 books a month for the past few months, if that, November's going to be tight. November's going to be very difficult. Obviously, I do want to go out and have fun. Like, I have a little day trip planned to York with one of my friends. I'm always in York, I'm sorry, but it's lovely, it's ancient, it's medieval, and there are squirrels there that eat out of my hand. So, like, if every vlog I do, you see me feeding squirrels, that's just my life, okay? I say, this is definitely one of those vlogs that could go one of 2 ways. Either I will read lots and be very, like, accountable with it, or this will be a disaster. But so I'm hoping you guys will join me for my thoughts on this one. And again, if you're wondering, like, I didn't mention this at the start, like if you're wondering why I'm filming on my landing, like I literally sat on my stairs in the spot that like flooded not that long ago. We're in the midst of like clearing out the attic and stuff, again, flooding, so like all this crap behind me is just like stuff to go in the attic, so my room is not in a filmable state right now, we'll say. And then I know I really should go at like the risk of not making this intro so unbearably long because I do ramble. I feel like people on booktube, people who like books, also like candles, and I got some absolutely amazing candles, like amazing smell and fantastic design, and I got them at like a little goth market in Leeds. It was like alternative market day, and I could not resist going to this person's shop and buying 2 more because I was having a bad day and I needed some more candles. So I thought we could do like a fun little, honestly gorgeous gothic candle unboxing together, because chances are I'm going to want to light one of these when I get to my reading later. Ah, can you see them? These are my candles. I don't know if it's just because I'm goth, but like the fact that they don't come in like such a, I don't know, like a little generic glass case. Like, don't get me wrong, that's just like a normal thing to have a candle in. But if I can have a candle in, like they do these in pewter or silver, I want a little goblet, obviously. I want to live in this candle. I'm gonna strap it to my face like some sort of shit plague doctor. I need to be in this candle. It's leather and wood smoke. I might have to light this today. Okay, now that I have sufficiently ranted and rambled at you, I'm going to go back and I'm on my lunch break, so I'm going to go back to work. I will finish this at some point today, and then I will be starting Every Sky a Grave, and hoping that it is 5 stars. But yeah, I'm hoping to get through it quite quickly as well. So, and then I have so many other things to read. It is also worth saying that like very last minute, I kind of added basically like a whole readathon challenge to my November TBR. I had 5 books that I was going to read in November anyway. None of these are any of them. They're 5 little secret books that I'm doing for a whole different video that was like set aside for November, and now I just keep adding more onto it. So the readathon that I want to do, this is being created by Ash over at Books to Ashes, whose channel and original video I will have linked in the description. And I believe the readathon is called the Library of Dragons, or just Drovember for short, and it's basically a whole load of dragons in November. And if you know me, I love dragons and I love books, and therefore I love a good old dragon book. So I honestly couldn't resist this. Even though I have so much on already, I was determined that I would play along with this. I would honestly recommend just going and watching Ash's entire like original video, just so you kind of like know what the gist of it is. But in essence, the way the readathon works is that the books you read dictate the dragon that you get that is your dragon. So it's like if you read a book with a certain colour, that colour is the colour of your dragon. Powers and abilities, like what element they are, it's that sort of thing. Like the number of pages is the size of your dragon. It's so fun, honestly. It sounds so fun, it sounds so cool, and I love dragons and I want to do this. And so to do this, I'm going to have to be reading some dragony books this month. I do know which book containing a dragon I am going to be reading for this readathon. I feel like I may have gone real niche with it. It's Beowulf, specifically Tolkien's translation and I guess his essays on Beowulf. I have read Beowulf before, but I have not read this specific version. I think the first half is Tolkien's translation of the original text, and then the last half is more academic discussion. If anyone else is reading Beowulf this month, let me know. I did also want to maybe get an audiobook to go along with this, but I'm trying to find one that's in, I want it in the Old English, but I do not really think, I think all like the audiobooks of it are for mostly obvious reasons. They're recordings of various English translations, whereas if I'm going to listen to it, I would kind of like to read Tolkien's translation, but also dip in and out of like an actual Old English recreation of the way it would have been spoken. So I don't know if that counts as two books, who knows? Because of the nature of this one as well, it's like obviously the first part is entirely fiction and the second half is non-fiction, like academia, so I'm not sure whether I'm going to read this in full all in one or whether I'm going to like dip in and out between books. I don't normally do that, so I anticipate I'll read this in full. I'm not sure where I'm going to slot it in the month, but I will be reading this month. When I do so, I'll probably talk more about like the readathon and my dragon and like what I'm going for. I'm honestly hoping to just sort of like see what the books bring me, like, because I have a lot of books set out for this month already. See where the books take me, you know? I'm gonna let the dragon come to me. But by the end of this, I should have a wonderful dragon familiar designed for me by the books that I've read. So yeah, you can see that my reading month is, it's pretty full this month. This vlog might turn out to be a snippet of just a very hectic couple of days in November, but honestly, so with that I am gonna go. My battery is flashing at me, so the next time I check in, I will definitely be done with this and I should have started my next very highly anticipated read. So wish me luck with that. I am praying with my fingers crossed. I'm hoping so much that it is as good as I am hoping it could be. Okay. Hello, so coming to you from a bit of a weird place, I know, but I've just finished filming an unboxing, which is why I have just like, honestly it looks like a hurricane's coming around me. But I did just want to update. I did quite a bit of reading yesterday. I think I'm now on page maybe like 150-ish of Every Sky a Grave. And I'm feeling pretty good because this is my third book of the month so far, so like I'm making good progress. And when I first picked it up, the first page was pretty great. I was so glad to be reading an adult novel after having read a little bit of YA, unfortunately. And I was worried that it might get into a bit of a slog because it wasn't quite gripping me from like the first like couple pages. But once I got, I would say like maybe like 50 to 70 pages in, it starts to get quite interesting. It starts to like pick up the pace, and so far I'm really enjoying it. It is different than I thought it would be. It's not quite as, at least not yet, it's not quite as like linguistic based. It's more that there is this language that forms like the basis of the cosmos and people can tap into it, and that is kind of like the magic system of this science fiction novel. And I do find that very interesting. It does mean that there's not quite a lot of like, I always wanted to go into like, you know, like in Arrival where there's like actual like language, linguistics, etymology, that sort of thing. So I am always interested in that, but I will say the story itself is still quite interesting. Not a lot has happened in terms of like events. It feels weird that I'm over 100 pages in and it still feels like stuff is just getting off the ground and getting started, but not in a way that feels like I've had to push through or anything. It just feels like I should be further into like, I should be able to list off more events than there have been for the number of pages that I've read, but I don't mean it in a bad way by any means. It is still hovering somewhere around like a 4 stars, which is kind of what I expected, but it could go either way at this point. Again, so far we are like quite early on, so I am cautiously optimistic, but I feel like I can afford to be optimistic. Other than that, I still have not dyed my freaking hair, but we're not going to talk about that. It's been like 3 weeks since I did this, and I'm gonna have to bloody bleach my roots again. Come Wednesday, I'm going to be in, I have a really busy like Monday, Tuesday for work, so I'm not going to bore you with that, but come Wednesday I'm going to go to York with my friend Sarah, and we're going to feed the squirrels and like just go shopping and like around the Shambles, and I'm going to take her to the Old Star Inn because she's not been, and so and that's like part of the setting for Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, so it's going to be fun, it's going to be bookish, we're probably going to go around Waterstones, we're probably going to feed the squirrels, so honestly I'm just looking forward to a really good time. And then Thursday I'm going to be meeting up with the same friend again because I hardly have any friends, but we're going to go to a As Sirens Fall gig. They're only supporting, but they're a really great band, you should check them out. And yeah, so Thursday, I feel like I'm going to be dead from York, but luckily I don't have to be like up and out until the evening. Then I'll be coming home, probably eating leftover food, watching the Loki season finale. Didn't think Marvel could make a good TV show, but like, it's the only Marvel thing I'll watch at this point because it's the only thing that's good. Everything else they're coming out with, I don't want to know. And that's kind of the plan for my week, and somewhere between all of that I have to fit like the rest of Every Sky a Grave, I have to read all of this, like 6 or 7 other books to read. Struggle. It's gonna be a struggle, but again, I'm trying to be cautiously optimistic. To be fair, one of the books that I wanted to read this month I just straight up cannot find, and I'm not buying another copy, so like, I know I own it, I've hauled it, and I just I don't know what I did with it. If I have to knock one book off of my like in my brain secret little TBR thing, it's gonna be the one that I can't find. So maybe I only have to read 8 books this month, but we will see. So yeah, that's basically just a little update on how I am doing. Feeling good about it, but I will keep you guys updated. Hello, so it's time for an update and I'm really tired and like my brain is scrambled. So this might not be the best quality of update. I don't even know what day it is. I've done so much these past few days. You probably still like, I went to York with a friend, had so much fun. Probably one of the best days out I've ever had in York. And I go to York all the time, like I'm always there. And then the very next day I had to get up for a mortgage appointment and then a lunch and then a concert. Came home, waited till 1 AM to watch the season finale of Loki, which by the way, emotionally devastated. I'm exhausted. I don't know what day it is. I don't know where I am. What I do know is, I did somehow finish Every Sky a Grave. It didn't quite, how do I put this? It was a good story and actually it was a lot less. It was different than I was expecting, but it was very good and very refreshing, and I'm not entirely sure how to recommend this one. There's not a whole lot in terms of like tropes or story or anything that I can really latch onto that isn't a spoiler that I can say, oh, if you like this or if you like that. The linguistic aspect of it, it does exist, but it's more that this thing called like the deep language is just this like sort of central force of existence in the universe is kind of how I'm interpreting it. And so it's much less like, there's no like actual real linguistics going on in this book. You get like little tidbits here and there of whenever like a word or phrase of like power is used, I guess get explained a little bit what that means, or like the deep connotations of the language and the words being used compared to just like normal speech, which I did enjoy, but it wasn't like super in-depth, I guess, on like the language aspect of it. It is more like magical words of power, but in kind of more like a slightly more realistic sci-fi setting. That said, I did still really enjoy the story. By the end of it, one thing that I was really enjoying was the specific dynamic between like these two characters that, again, I can't spoil anything because like I feel like this happens so far into the book by the time that the dynamic really starts to get good. It is kind of like a slow build up to get there, but I really like the way that it left off, and I'm definitely intending to go on and read book 2. I think this is just a duology, it could be a series, but I think there's only at least 2 out now, so the second book might be the last book. I'm definitely going to read it. I'm really enjoying just like what was happening with these characters, mainly just the interaction between them, which was not a massive part of the story. I just really enjoyed it. And look, there's one thing in the synopsis that I was waiting to come into it and it doesn't ever come up in the book. It's the thing about this unknown entity like at the edge of the... What does it say? It says, while on a mission, a dark and unknown presence makes itself known on the edge of the galaxy and it cannot be controlled for nobody knows its name. Now, that does not happen. There is like a sensing of like another force, but it's quite... You find out what that is fairly soon, and I don't know if that's actually referring to... I was picturing some sort of like Fifth Element type shit. I don't know if this is referring to plot that's already been wrapped up, because I was definitely... It said like on the edges of the galaxy. I was totally expecting some far away, distant, encroaching force that it's like, oh, this is like a thing we have to deal with. And I don't think that's the case. So I feel like that was worded really weirdly. I think I would recommend this. I mean, I would recommend this, but in terms of like specifics, it is a sci-fi, but it's not massive on like the sci-fi-ness of it. And it's hard to say whether it's like more character or plot development. It's pretty equal. And there is action, but it's not like massively action-packed. I feel like it just... It's quite a simple story. It's just telling quite a simple story, but it does it in a way that I think works really well. I really enjoyed it. I like the writing. So I am going to go on to book 2. I feel like for my wrap-up, I'm going to have to like figure out what I'm saying about this book. I did also read my first dragon book of the month for the Library of Dragons Readathon. So I read Tolkien's translation of Beowulf, and I'm going to put like the little picture here. And if you're wondering why I'm doing that, it's because when I came home, there was a tiny spider on my wall, and I have the world's worst arachnophobia. And so I had the book, and I just launched the book at the spider. It did kill the spider, but the issue is I think there is now a squished spider on the book. So I can never touch that book again. It's down the side of my bed. I'll just like, here it is. Here's the book. Can't ever touch that again. So I would hold it up, but alas I cannot. But it is, I'll put like the thing here. Now the spine is black and dark grey, and like this is the cover of the book. And if you read a dragon book in the month of November, this is like the only prompt you definitely have to do. And Beowulf does have a dragon in it, that's why there's like this picture of a dragon on the front of this front cover. The cover and the spine of the book dictate what colour your dragon will be, so from this you get to pick what colours. So I think I'm, like real goth bitch time, I think I'm primarily going to go with the black and grey, like somewhere between like black and grey for like my dragon's main colour. But I do kind of want to get some of these like lovely like teal blue accents on there, because like teal is basically my favourite colour. I'll maybe have to do like some dragon designing and like figure out maybe like where like the blue can occur on the dragon. That said, the other thing, okay, so the second prompt for this readathon is the element, and that is like your dragon's type, I guess. Like if it was a Pokemon, this is what type it is. And basically all the books I'm reading this month are fantasy, although I have already read one non-fiction. And do I have any other genres planned? I am taking a brief glimpse through the list. There's some very cool ones on here, like blood dragons, like basically vampire dragons. Now, if anybody ever tends to ask me like what basic kind of magic you do, my basic answer is always cryomancy, because like ice magic is just so cool. I'm so sorry, it just is. I think this is mainly from like my Dragon Age Origins days, using mainly ice spells, but like I'm not planning to read like a wintry, snowy or Christmassy book this month. Now I could be very basic and do like fire, which is any fantasy book. However, I have read one science fiction book this month, and the science fiction element is a celestial or cosmos dragon, and I am so into that. I fucking love stars. I could totally take that one of two ways, right? Because I could either do like beautiful, starry, celestial dragon, or I could go like full fucking Lovecraftian, like cosmic horror. Who knows? I don't know. I'm feeling like maybe that would be like a cute thing though, because like if I had like a black and grey dragon, maybe I could have like little, I don't know, sparkly stars or something in like the bluey teal colour. I don't really know. I'm gonna have to do some brainstorming. But of like the genres that I'm like, what is non-fiction? I've technically read one tiny book of essays. I'm not reading romance or dark academia. Oh, non-fiction is earth magic. Oh, okay. I'm gonna go with the one sci-fi book I have read, and I'm gonna have a black/grey with maybe some like shiny teal blue accents. Celestial dragon, which sounds cool to me. More than that, there are like some other prompts, but I have dragon's hide, injuries, stuff like that. So I'm not done reading all of my books this month, but I will, I guess, at some point drop back in and like let you know how my dragon's coming along. Like I have like type and colour now, so I feel like that's like a good start. The other thing I should say, because I have somehow finished 3 books in this vlog, so weird of me to do that. I've also unfortunately started, you can't even see it, you can't even see the pain I'm in right now, it's Iron Flame. Oh, I don't know how to tell you that, like, I'm not thrilled about reading this. Basically the friend that I went to York with, we decided to buddy read this book, and by that, because this came out the day before I went to York, which was the day that I was up till 1 AM preparing my house for people to come and like view it and take pictures of it and shit, which is great for me. So I went to sleep at 1 AM after doing housework and got up at 4 AM to do more housework before going out to York at 6 AM, and that was the day that Iron Flame released. So by buddy reading it, what I actually mean is my friend has like read like 200 pages of this book a day since the 7th when it came out, and I did not start this until today, so I'm like about like 100 pages in. Oh, how do I like, I didn't realise, look, I'll tell you what I didn't realise. I didn't realise this was like 600 pages. This is like 600 and something pages. Is it that deep though? Like, is it really that serious? For being honest, is it really that serious? And like, also, why is the font size this? Generally, all the adult books I read are this length and do have this font size, but this is very much a YA book masquerading as an adult book because of the sex scenes in it. And like, is it really that deep though? Come on. At this point, basically like live Snapchatting my friend every time I have something to bitch about, which is often. I'm basically only reading this because we said we would buddy read it, but I'm pretty sure she's finished it already, and I'm so like, I have so far to go. This is like a whole day's worth of reading, and I'm only like 100 and something pages in, and if this were like a better book, I think maybe I could like get through it faster. It's not that it's dense, it's not that it's difficult, it's just that I'm kind of not that interested. I'm kind of a little bit bored. I'm kind of just like questioning the whole world building of this entire world. I can't say anything about it because of spoilers, but like, this is not really a spoiler, this is just like a general conceptual thing. But like, one of the things in this world is that dragons and dragonkind tend to like, they work with humans, but sometimes they will keep facts about like dragonkind and their own like dragony culture-y society, whatever, secret from the humans, even though they're literally like life bonded together. Like, there's just stuff that humans do not know about dragons, But like, at certain points you will have humans interrogating other humans to find out things about dragons, and both of these humans have dragons, and in my head I'm like, well, the human who's doing the interrogating, why is their dragon not just being like, actually, I don't want any of you humans to know this? Or if they are gonna allow them to find out, why not just fucking tell them? It's shit like that. It's basic shit like that. The reasons for things happening don't actually make sense. It's kind of like, it's just dumb. It's just real dumb. It's just real dumb. I'm so sorry. I'm just not having the best time. So I will be forcing my way through this book, mainly so that me and my friend can talk about it and she can be amused by my plight. But I'm telling you now, I don't think I'm going to read any more of this series. I'm pretty sure I'm going to DNF this series. Mainly just because, like, this is book 2 and it's 600 something pages and it's got tiny font and it goes on and on and on and I just don't care. And part of me is like, it has like 3 more books to go. And I'm like, are they just going to keep increasing in size and audacity? Like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I will read 1,000 pages of like a Joe Abercrombie book or something. This, I can't do it. I can't do it. My aim is to get through this as quick as is humanly possible. I know my friend really enjoyed this, but like, Sarah, if you're watching, I'm so sorry. I'm just going to try and get through this as fast as possible. I'm going to like try and power through, but it's real hard when my ADHD brain wants to do literally anything else. I am totally realising that because I picked up Beowulf, I mean mainly specifically because it was like a book with a dragon in it and it was short and I did want to read Beowulf at some point and I was like, okay, perfect timing. I am realising I totally could have just used Iron Flame as my dragon book for this month, because it does have dragons in it. I've already read Beowulf at this point, so like, really great planning on my part, if I'm honest. What else could this count for? Because I'm not doing fantasy element. Oh, it could count for size. Oh, although this is over 600 pages, and that makes my dragon massive. The size of a large building or skyscraper. 60 meters? I'm not entirely sure I want a 60 meter. I mean, that would be pretty cool. Maybe I will pick a slightly smaller book. I think you get to pick. I don't think you necessarily have to choose the biggest book. I could choose that little Loki book and have like a teeny tiny dragon, which would be cute. I honestly, in my head, I was thinking something like standard dragon sized, which according to this chart is above 400 pages, but smaller than, above 450 pages. How big was Every Sky a Grave? Can I use the same book twice? Oh, this was like 400 pages though, so that would be smaller. Look, I'll pick a size for my dragon. It might not necessarily be a 60 meter tall dragon because of this book though. Like, I think I'm allowed to choose smaller if I read a book that is also fitting into like one of the smaller categories, so we will see. Otherwise, I might just end up with a literal gargantuan big star dragon, which, like, I mean, that is pretty cool. I wasn't really intending on it. So, it's this book's fault. Everything is this book's fault. Okay, I'm gonna go. I've been talking for way too long. This is meant to be like a 5-minute update and it's been like half an hour. I've gotta go. I'm gonna go. I think I'm just losing my mind, but at this point I am blaming the book. Hopefully I don't take like too much psychic damage from like these sassy dragons and just obnoxiously horny characters. And hopefully my brain survives, so I'll let you know. Hello, so I'm going to try and film this with like the last of the daylight for today, so hopefully that means I can't ramble too much. Also, excuse me the way that I look, because like, I mean, woo, I dyed my hair, but also I am tired. I've had such a busy week, and I have an even busier week next week, and it doesn't stop. Like, I have no weekends or free time until like mid-December, basically until Christmas. Finding time to read, not the best. Having energy to read, even worse. And yet somehow, I did finish all of Iron Flame. I really don't know how. I do not know how I had the patience. This was an exercise in endurance. This was so hard. It was so bad. It was so, it's bad. It's bad, guys. Guys, it's so bad. I thought, see, here's the thing. I thought that Fourth Wing was bad, but that at least it had like redeeming qualities and I could like understand why people would want to read it. This one, I don't get. Because it's like 650 pages and the font is way smaller than Fourth Wing, so it's like many times the length, and I'm just like, who is this for? Was it really this deep? And like, before I even go into this, I do want to say I realized that it's like between Fourth Wing coming out and this coming out is 8 months. That's insane. And I'm pretty sure that this is just, the pacing is awful, the plot, is it there? is the plot plot in the room with us right now? I don't really know. I don't really know where this is going. I don't really know why things are happening. They just kind of are. It's very bad. It's bad, guys. It's bad. It's badly written. And like, I don't even know if there's, I think if you're reading this for the spice, like, I guess there is spice in there. Not a whole lot though. Not like compared to the first book. And the pacing, this was rough. I had a rough time reading this. And I do think that 8 months between your first like book in this series coming out and then publishing one that's so much longer as a sequel. I think Fourth Wing is like 400 pages, but it's got big ass font, right? This is 620 something, and it has like actual like normal sized adult fantasy style font. So this book is, I would say this is way more than twice the length of Fourth Wing, despite the page count not being twice the page count. It's the font. The font will get you. I can't believe that the turnaround time for publishing this is that fast. 8 months for like a 600+ page book. Considering the amount of like special editions and things that there've been, and all like the extra like Fourth Wing stuff that's come out, and like the bonus chapter stuff for Fourth Wing, and I'm just thinking like, I'm sure it's because this was just like rushed to get it out before the holiday season and while like the hype for Fourth Wing is still alive, so that people get like invested in the series. I'm sure this was like a marketing tactic. I have seen so many people getting like misprints, like mine is fine, but apparently a lot of people have like the wrong name or the wrong cover or the wrong copyright. Mine does have the missing, somebody said chapter 17 has a missing dragon on the header. Mine does have a missing dragon on the header. So like there's just like formatting issues and just shit going wrong with like the physical editions of the book, and it's like, well, this is what happens when you rush a book. And I'm sad to say the story inside has also not fared very well. I'm not going to go into spoilers or anything like that, but it's rough, guys. It is rough. Like, I was reading this, and it's first of all, this book has 2 characters in it, that's it. It has Violet, the main character, and Xaden, the love interest, and everybody else is just pointless. Every single time anyone has to do anything, or anytime somebody can have an interesting thing about them, it's either Violet or Xaden. So like, if someone's gonna have a cool power, or a cool artifact, or a cool rare unique dragon, or some sort of like cool background thing, or like knowledge of something, or skill, it's always either Violet or Xaden. None of the other characters actually matter. They're all just like window dressing, they're all just background fluff. None of them actually have anything. So this does not happen, but just as an example, if you had a fantasy story and say there was like a sword in the stone type thing, right? There's a cool magical sword that can only be claimed by like a worthy wielder, right? Like Excalibur or something like that. Or fucking Mjolnir. Going into this, it would be like, oh, of all these people here, the person who's going to pull that sword is going to be Violet or Xaden. Or if they're like, oh, there's a super secret bloodline, and like only their descendants have this rare magical power, that it's either going to be Violet or Xaden. And if it's like, obviously Xaden with his black gold-flecked eyes, or Violet with her silver ombre hair, it's like literally no other character is allowed to have any of these things. Like, and it's just piling it on now. Violet has like 5 different super special main character things that only she can have, and then the other 5 all like super special, very angsty, unique things that only Xaden can have. And I'm like, could literally any other character get like one cool fucking thing about them? They all just have normal dragons and like normal powers, and like they're all normal and they have normal skills. And with Violet and Xaden, it's like, no, Xaden's like the super strong badass, and Violet's like the ultimate genius, knows everything, speaks basically every language, blah blah blah. And any time that somebody else might have like, I don't know, like an interesting magical ability, or like can read maybe one other language that Violet can't, it's just kind of like a background thing, like an afterthought. And it's just to keep other characters kind of in the background in the story, so that when one of them gets killed off, I'm meant to feel something about it. But I literally don't, because there's no point in any of them. Like, everything is either Violet or Xaden, and it's driving me insane. It's driving me actually mad, because how do you have all these other characters and like every single thing going on is just specifically either Violet or Xaden? Like, nobody else has anything else important or interesting or plot related about them at all. This is a 2-person book. It's wild to me. It's absolutely wild. I will also say, and I'm not going to say what it is, I'm not going to spoil anything, the last line of this book, the last paragraph, is one of the worst paragraphs I've read in any book. It did not offend me quite as bad as something like the end of the Teeling series, for example, but that was like the end of a whole series. But this is the most unforgivingly cringe, childish paragraph. The words uttered in like the last couple sentences of this book gave me a pure visceral reaction. I was taking massive amounts of psychic damage. I cannot express to you how bad the last lines of this book are. It's giving Welcome to My Twisted Mind. It's giving 12-year-old trying to be edgy in their English homework. I would have felt so embarrassed to write something like that as a literal child. And I say that as someone who has written some embarrassing things as a literal child. Like, I'm reading the last, I'm reading the last, I read it like 4 times because I was like, these words cannot exist on paper in this order. In 2023, like, this can't be real. It's like the end of like a fan fiction you write as a joke to sort of like, you know what I mean? You like where something's bad on purpose to be funny? Like an ironic tweet. It was genuinely bad. I was losing my mind towards the end of this book. I physically can't cope. I cannot cope. And I regret to say, I think my friend wants me to read like the whole series. And if the next book is this long and this dumb, like, it's so fucking dumb, guys. If this book, if the other books are like this, I'm actually going to lose my mind. I'm actually going to go insane. Because I feel so mentally fragile after having read this, and like, I have to read so many other books this month, and this took up so much time and so much of my brain space. If you like this book, if you like this series, I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy you enjoy it. Please do not let my opinion like dull your enjoyment of this series. But oh my god, I think this is genuinely one of like the worst things I've ever read. There's no massive like plot holes or anything like that, but I think it's because the plot is so simple and never really relates back to itself that it's very hard to get tangled in the plot. It's just not great. It's just not great. There were some moments in this where I had my head in my hands and I was like, you cannot make me read these words. I'm very proud of myself for having read this, considering I was not planning to read an extra like 600 plus pages in a month. I do think my friend Sarah wants me to read the rest of this series. And, you know, considering she's like the cool friend that I went to York with, look, all I'm saying is I am potentially the best friend. If I'm willing to read, what, like 3 or 4 more books in this series, because you asked me to as a friend to like buddy read it with you, I am just saying I am a great fucking friend. Obviously, my friend does enjoy them. She does like them. She did think that some stuff in here was dumb. At one point I was saying like this stupid dumb thing that happens really needs to have like some good payoff, and like she was sending me messages like, don't get your hopes up, it does not have good payoff. And it's like, okay, yeah. So like, she's perfectly self-aware of like what this book is, but I can appreciate that, like, you know, she just likes it for what it is. It's the same with me in a film like Underworld. Like, I know that the Underworld film is kind of shit, but I love it. It's one of my favorites. I will defend that film to the death. I think it's so great. Even though it's so shit, it's so great. And like, this is someone's Underworld film, right? Not mine, but it's somebody's. Yeah, super glad to be done with this, to be honest. And one thing, like, okay, I would never normally talk about this, right? But this is just like the standard UK hardback edition, right? And it comes with these art end papers. Now, I can't remember if I mentioned the first time that, and I feel really bad saying this, but I also feel like if I have an opinion on it, I feel like I should say it. And like, as somebody who is also an artist, I don't know how to say this without sounding like a complete bitch, but the art on the end papers is so fucking bad. It's so fucking bad. And like, the only conclusion I can come to is that, because like the background, it's the portraits that are bad. Like the book and like the feathers and like all this background stuff, like I'll try and show it to you. So it's meant to be like, this is Violet allegedly, and this is Xaden allegedly. And like you can see like their books and quills and like study stuff. So like, I like the general design of the end papers, but like the execution on the characters is so fucking bad. I know that this was meant to be drawn by a person in universe, by a character, and my only thought, the implication must be that the character in universe who drew this is bad at art. That is my only conclusion, other than they just hired an artist who cannot or has never drawn people before. Because like, I'm not a particularly great artist. I'm like okay as a hobbyist artist, right? I feel like I'm trying not to insult someone who maybe has less skill when it comes to drawing people. But I also don't think that you need to be like, I feel like even if you can't draw, you can look at this and be like, yeah, that's not how faces work. Because like, Violet's head is like tilted like this, but her jaw is on this angle, but her upper face is on this angle. And it's like, well, I can't believe you're like in your official printed book, and there's millions of copies of this, and like you couldn't find an artist who can draw a face at an angle. She has different sized eyes looking in different directions. They've covered up the hands with a lightning bolt, a really badly drawn lightning bolt. The clothing have folds in them that literally don't make sense. Like, that's not how fabric works, that's not how clothes work. Her hair looks weird as hell. I don't know what's going on with her neck. Her cheekbone, it's like, Xaden also looks really goofy, but like the print is quite dark, so I can't make out as many details on him. But like, Violet looks actually genuinely atrocious. And like, one of the first things I said when I opened this book is like, who are these people? And again, I don't know if that's just because this had really rushed production, and maybe they could only select from artists who, like, I don't know, could get it done in a really short space of time, and for whatever budget they were allowing for this book. And like, no hate to the artist, because like I can see, like, you know, they can draw books really well, and like the feathers and the plant leaves, they all look fine, and it's just the people. I just think the artist they chose does not draw people, and like they probably just got told, oh yeah, we need you to draw people, and they just had to wing it and go for it, and like this is the best they could do. But like, it's genuinely so bad, it's baffling to me that you would print this as official artwork of your characters in your actual official book. I feel like I'm gonna have to cut like so much of this rant out. But yeah, that is to say, I did not like this book. I think I gave it like a generous 2 stars, and that's maybe because like the writing itself is not bad. I'm trying to, there was one villain and one villain's dragon in this book that added some level of interest. They're in it so little. They're like barely there. Whenever they were on the page, I was like, okay, I don't mind this too much. But it was a bad book. It was rough. I only reserve a 1 star for something that is like genuinely actually like offensive to me, or so bad I don't understand like how it got published. And this is not quite that bad. I just think it's bad. It scraped a 2 stars though. How am I doing on my dragon though? Like, we're still in November, so I'm still doing like, and again, I unexpectedly, I have read 2 dragon books. I completely forgot that this was coming out in November, which is why I read Beowulf. But I probably could have just read one of these and like saved myself some, I mean, ideally I would have just read Beowulf, but I guess I have a pretty big celestial dragon, and I haven't looked at like some of the other prompts. I'm gonna try and do like 1 per book rather than like doubling up. Like, I'm sure one of them's to do with like the number of pages in your book, whether it's odd and even. I can't remember what that tells you, but it tells you something. So I'm somehow not failing the readathon. Like, at least the number of books I'm reading is getting me somewhere. Even if I don't like the book, at least I've read it. Otherwise, yeah, I feel like I should probably end this vlog here, because otherwise it's going to get too long. And like, I don't know who's sticking around to watch me for like an hour in a vlog. I always try and edit them down, but like, I ramble for like half an hour every single time I pick up the camera to do an update, and it's so hard to cut that down. Like, I have so much footage of me and family members or friends feeding the squirrels in York, or just like walking around York Shambles. Oh, and like, it would be fun to take you guys to London with me. I'm going to the theatre, getting a 5-hour bus there and a 5-hour bus back in the same day. So I will die. Just know that I'll be in London and probably hating it, because I fucking hate London. Yeah, I definitely think I need to end this vlog because I'm getting tired and rambly. I mean, I think I've read a good amount so far. Still have like 2 weeks left, hoping I can get through all of the other reading that like I want to do. But I already know December is going to be a lot more chill. There's only like maybe like 3 books that I know I definitely want to read in December before the year is out, and anything else is a bonus. So I have a nice, easy, fingers crossed, month coming next month. Just gotta get through November. I just gotta get through the struggle that is November. So with that said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you did make it this far in the video, at this point, considering like the background is orange and like my hair is orange and like this book has like orange on the spine, just give me like your favorite orange emoji, whatever it is. If you post an emoji that is orange, I will know you made it this far in the video. I don't know how. I really do not think I am that interesting to necessitate a video that is this long, but I'm bad at summarizing and bad at editing, so this is what you end up with. At least November has been like page-wise, book-wise, like, you know, at least it has been like a pretty good reading month so far. Rating-wise, not so much, but like the amount I'm reading, maybe my best month page count-wise, potentially, or like definitely one of the best. So, and I guess the question I'd like to ask is, I know my friend is kind of maybe already making me read the rest of the, is it the Empyrean series? Friend aside, if I do read those, because like maybe I'll just like prioritize my own mental health and well-being, but if I do end up reading those like as and when they come out for my friends so that like we can talk about them, because I'm like the best fucking friend, would you guys still want to like see that content on this channel, knowing that I'll probably be very, very negative about them? But if you would want like standalone just like reading vlogs slash reactions of those in the future, let me know. Obviously I have not really done one for this book, but if you would like to see that for the future books in this series, whether you're planning to read them or not, let me know. Is that content you would like to see? I mean, just let me know now if that's something you would like to see, or if you like don't want to see that. Because if you do want to see it, I might have to spend the time between now and the next book publishing, which, considering the rate these come out, it could be in like less than a year. I need that time to mentally prepare myself. I need as much time as possible. So that's where we're at. Okay, the light is like basically gone, and my camera has already gone through one battery. So once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!